Hello and welcome to ADHD Mums. In this podcast, we tackle the tough, often unspoken realities of motherhood, neurodiversity, and mental health. You can feel it, can't you? The tension that starts in November. And the way that if you hear the word Christmas, I get a bit of a shudder down the back of my spine because it's coming and I just want to pretend it isn't. No series has ever been harder to create than this one. Between the festive bucket list, which is basically the ADHD Mums Christmas planning guide, and the December podcast released episodes, where so many people wanted me to share the most practical hacks, the shortcuts, the best way to approach Christmas for ADHD mums, I have realized that I am a certified hot mess and I'm absolutely not qualified for this. But I have never procrastinated like I have in the lead up to this Christmas series. It has brought out a side of my analysis paralysis that I've never experienced before. It has brought on the realization that I have absolutely no idea how to prioritize. I have no list. I operate out of anxiety. I do lots of things, burn out, cry, fall into a heap, beg for help, then feel a little bit better and then go full speed again until a couple of days before Christmas where I throw my list out, cry, and then go, fuck it, I don't know anymore. I don't actually know a better way to do it. And when I talk to a lot of other ADHD mums, they didn't know either. So I have gone around and interviewed my most organized friends. Most of them are neurodivergent, but a lot of them operate out of anxiety. And so they are overly planned, overly organized. And I've tried to take the best of everybody and also bring in the inattentive experience. I love that one of the jot forms that came in on feedback talked about how this podcast is centered around hyperactive mums. And you know what? You're right, it is. It's a reflection of me. I am the hyperactive. I am a combined type, but anxiety pushes me forward. And a lot of people aren't like that. A lot of people, when they feel anxiety, they get stuck and they can't move. So I've tried to bring in as much of both experiences as possible. And then I've created a lot of pressure for this to be perfect. But I've come to a realization that maybe that is the point. None of us are perfect. No one is qualified for the emotional Olympics that is December. The lists, the gifts, the guilt, it's just too much. And how are we supposed to stay upright and not crying when people are asking us constantly, are you all ready for Christmas? As if it's some kind of like small talk thing. And it's like a terrifying moment where I just want to say, fuck no. I'm not ready for Christmas. I'm still sitting in the car crying. I haven't even got my list together. But instead I smile and nod and I say in a high-pitched voice, yeah, really good. How are you? Because I don't know what else I'm supposed to say. Why do neurotypical people think that that is a nice check-in? Am I supposed to be honest and say I'm having a breakdown, I don't know what to do? Or I suppose I'm supposed to go, yeah, really good, thanks, how are you? Which seems like a completely unnecessary stress. Why would you ask somebody the most inflammatory question ever? So this year, I have decided I'm just going to have a crack. I'm just going to tackle it in the ADHD mum style. And I really hope that this gives you even 10 to 20% more sanity than what you had last year. This year, we are doing it differently. We are doing the ADHD Mums Christmas Gauntlet. We're ditching perfection and we are picking up a pen and we are going to start. If you haven't heard of it, I've got the festive bucket list available on my website. What it is a workbook that helps you cross out everything that doesn't serve you this Christmas. It's not about doing more. It's about doing less to your values on purpose. If you want to grab it, it's in the show notes. If not, that's completely fine too. I have purposely created the content where you can follow along on the podcast episodes, which are completely standalone and very helpful. Or you can also do the workbook and follow along on the December podcast because both contents are standalone, which means you can do one, you can do both, you can do none. It doesn't matter. This is not about creating shame or guilt. This is about helping you at the highest level. So let's get started. The Red Pen Christmas. I personally love this title. This Christmas, I also wanted to answer some listener questions. If you would like to have your listener question answered, please, the link is in the show notes. Jump in there, fill it out. Everything is anonymous or not, depending on if you want it to be. Add anything you like, and I will attempt to answer as many as possible. If you're wondering where the listener question form was, follow along on Instagram. I've always got it up on my stories or Facebook stories, or also if you're not in the Facebook group, it's awesome in there. Please jump into the Facebook group. I'm always asking for feedback, listener questions. I read everything. Please send them in. So here we go. The first listener question is from Anonymous. And she says, Hey Jane, every year I swear I'm going to keep Christmas simple. And every year I do everything. And I do not keep it simple. I keep the peace, I smooth the drama, I manage everyone's mood. I'm smiling, but I feel like I've got clenched teeth. I drink at night and I feel desperately unhappy and I always end up crashing. How do I stop being the peacekeeper? I don't know how to stop. I really want this Christmas to be different, but I don't know how. What a question. This was one of the first that came in and I was like, holy shit, again, unqualified, right? That is such a huge question that I think so many of us face each year. I feel like this listener has described what Christmas looks like in a lot of ADHD mum households. It doesn't feel like a holiday to me. It feels like a group project, except there's no one really helping except for me. And I don't know about you, but me as a neurodivergent person, I don't really love group work. I don't do well in groups. But if you don't ask for help and work in a group, then you end up doing all of the work yourself. How do we make this different? How do we change? There are so many women out there, and I read about them in the Facebook group, who have reached breaking point. They are done. And it is so sad that so many of them have gone down to rock bottom. And the only way that they have learned to keep their sanity is to just stop doing Christmas altogether, which is so neurodivergent because I can't do things halfway. Consistent progress is one of the most challenging aspects I find of life. I'm either hell for leather or I'm doing nothing. I don't understand how neurotypical people just do consistent progress week after week. Like, how do they not do all of it and then cry and then do nothing? That's what I do. It has been a huge challenge in this series. So I asked on Instagram and Facebook and I said, what Christmas hacks have you got? I don't feel like I know all the answers and I feel like an imposter. What can you do to help me? Does anyone have this sorted out? So on top of the friends that I interviewed and asked, I also had this particular person write in who asked to be anonymous. And it was one of the most powerful listener submissions I've ever seen. It says, we told our families that we're going away this year, even though we are not. It's just too much. It's too hard trying to keep everybody happy. Every year we end up exhausted, resentful, and feeling like crap. So this year we're protecting our peace, just us, our little family, no pressure, no guilt, no pretending. Now I read that and thought, who is this woman and can someone give her a gold medal? Teach me your ways. That's amazing. I've actually seen a few ADHD mums in the Facebook group last year share that they got takeaway or frozen food or something that they really enjoyed, like delivered the night before, and they sat on the couch with their kids and watched movies. Now, this doesn't work for every family. I've got 2 out of 3 very hyperactive children. They would not be able to sit still. But if you've got older kids or kids who are happy to do that, what a cracking Christmas, hey? And it reinforced to me that everyone's Christmas is different. Some people might find that lonely or isolating. Other people would feel like that's amazing. So there are 2 sides to the same story, right? There is a mum who keeps saying yes until she breaks, and then there's another one who just says no completely just to survive because she can't figure out how to do it in a way that doesn't end in her feeling awful and really unhappy. But how can we do it halfway? Both of these women are exhausted and both of them are trying to find peace and they're trying to reduce the guilt and the shame for doing it. How can they add a red pen here without having to completely opt out if that's not what you want? So let's talk about Christmas morning, and what it means to you, because there is no right answers or wrong answers here. For me, I remember last year thinking to myself, wow, this has been a really long morning. I'm exhausted. When is it going to be lunch? And then will it be the afternoon? And then we can move on from life. Because I felt exhausted already. When I looked at my watch, it was 8:42 a.m. Everyone had been up since 4 a.m., including me, and I thought the whole day was half over. I remember cutting the plastic off some toy with kitchen scissors and looking around and realizing that my child was crying because they wanted a slightly different one to the one they got. The wrapping paper was knee high, and I wondered why I'd bother staying up at night to wrap it. And then I thought to myself, I should have just shoved everything in 3 rubbish bags, like 1 rubbish bag per child, because I don't think anyone would have noticed. I remember someone yelling over the top of everybody else that they wanted more batteries and they were fighting over the batteries. I had phone alarms to keep myself on track with what I had to do, and they started pinging, but I couldn't find my phone. My hubby was there and he was asking if I'd seen the gravy jug. And then over the top of this, my youngest child was saying, wait for it, I'm bored. Holy shit. That was a ride. Do you know the feeling when the room is loud, your brain is louder, and then you're wondering how you got here and you're questioning all of life's decisions? And then later on in the afternoon, someone makes a comment that you're grumpy. And at that point, I just wonder, what is it all for and why I feel unhappy? Maybe that's just me, but that is how I have felt in the past on Christmas. So why do we keep saying yes, but then our whole body is saying no? Because a lot of us, our body is giving us clues that we're actually not really happy with the plan. This isn't only about Christmas. It's actually about your nervous system and what your nervous system feels is safe. Because it's not always about making the right choice. It is sometimes about doing emotional accounting and being aware of your budget. For a lot of us, they have learned that good girl reflex. If you haven't heard about that, feel free to go back into my related episodes in the show notes. I'll put that there. About how for a lot of us, we've grown up thinking that peacekeeping is safer than actually having internal peace. So a lot of us walk around ensuring everyone else is happy, stretching ourselves as thin as possible without prioritizing our own inner peace. We think our own inner peace is attached to peacekeeping others. If this resonates for you, please go back into the episode and have a look. I also wanted to point out about energy accounting, and I love energy accounting. It's about doing maths in a way that actually works for neurodivergent families. Some neurotypical people wake up with $100 in their energy budget. They may have enough energy to have Christmas with family in the morning, lunch with friends. They might hang out with more people at night. They might have people over. They might have a sleepover and have other people's kids over. It may look to you like they have an unlimited amount of energy or they're more fun, and you're not. But you've got to be aware that everyone has a different budget. If you'd like to know more about the good girl, the mindset behind it, how we've grown up with that programming to people please others, if that's you, please go back and have a look at You Were the Good Girl. That's why you're falling apart now. I'm going to put it in the show notes as a related episode. Please go in there and check it out. It's one of my most consumed episodes, which means most people go right to the end because it resonates so deeply. If you'd like to know more about energy accounting, I highly recommend you go back and have a look at The Biggest Lie Parents Believe in the School Holidays. This is what everyone does. That is 100% on energy accounting, and there's a free handout. It's a free download. I'm also going to put that in the show notes. But let's continue on. So for a neurotypical mum, a neurotypical person, they may have, let's say, $100 for the day, energy accounting. They may have, let's say, a budget of $100 for the day of things that they can do that they need to budget. So for example, a neurotypical mum might have a budget of $100. That is her energy for the day. Most ADHD mums, I believe, we wake up with around about $40. That's on a good day. Sometimes if we're burnout, we've got less than that. If you are more of the inattentive kind of ADHD, you might present that you don't even look busy on the outside. You might look to somebody else like you have $100, but inside your brain has been sprinting all day. You may be paying the energy tax in silence. You may be constantly replaying and overthinking, did I forget something, whilst also scrolling on the couch. You may find it difficult to get started. Whereas the hyperactives, which is more like myself, we look busy, we're physically moving possibly, or we're hyperactive in our thoughts, we're talking it through, but both presentations can lead to burnout. It's still operating in burnout. It's a different presentation of the burnout, but both is real burnout. So let's layer in some costs. Let's just say, for example, going for breakfast with family on Christmas Day might cost $30. Mediating sibling fights, that might be $10. Now, I don't know about you, but Christmas, birthdays, oh my God, the sibling fighting is worse than ever, which is probably why I'm so drained at the end of the day. And at 8:42, I was thinking, oh my God, when will this be over? getting everybody dressed and out the door might be $15 on just a normal day. When you're adding in Christmas, heightened emotions, maybe your kids are tired, they've been up early, you're exhausted. There's all this extra pressure and stress. And who said, she said, whose present was bigger, whatever it is. You may find that you've got even less money than what you do on normal days. So for me, when I'm hitting, and if you are, let's say, for example, you have $40 and all of your Christmas tasks you do in the last week. So that means you've still got a $40 budget, but you might be doing $100 worth of tasks in a day. Then people wonder why you're stressed, grumpy, feel angry, sad, enraged, whatever it is. You can get through $100 in tasks depending on your personality and how you present. But you may find that that's $60, but you might find that that's $60 worth of extra tasks that actually comes out of tomorrow's budget. So if you've got $40 per day, but you're using up the next day's budget, the next day's budget, the next day's budget every single day for weeks and weeks and weeks, hello burnout. Then every morning when you wake up and you're used to having $40, you may start having like -20, -40, -60, and you've got nothing left because you're so burnt out. So by the time a lot of us get through to Christmas, we might be on like a -$100, but that Christmas day costs us like $400 in energy. And then we wonder at the end why we didn't have a very good time, or why someone says to us, how was your Christmas break? Was it relaxing? And you're thinking, no, it wasn't. Or when someone asks you a simple question like, hey, do you think you can bring some extra potatoes at Christmas Day? And you feel like your brain is going to short circuit. And that goes back to the myth around trying harder. You don't need to try harder. You're actually way overdrawn in your energy. You're actually way overdrawn in your energy accounting. If you keep borrowing for tomorrow, so this is why other families can make it look easy sometimes. It's not that they're a better mum or that they're trying harder than you or you've just got to get organized, especially if you're inattentive and you look, in air quotes, fine, and no one can necessarily see the spinning. Maybe they're seeing you sit on the couch, stressing and not knowing where to start. But if you line up a neurotypical mum next to you, you'll see that they're actually not paying your hidden costs. They don't have sensory load chipping away at their bank account. They don't have co-regulation of children for so much longer. They don't have the personal assistant role that you might have for your whole family riding on you. If you're a single mum, you've got no one to share the load with. If you have a partner that also has ADHD, you may find that both of you are navigating without a map. You may find that as a neurodivergent person, you have more trauma than a neurotypical mother. You might have ARFID in your family. You might have social scripts you have to come up with. You will have more things drawing out of your bank account than another neurotypical mother. So behind the scenes, you have a budget of a lot less money that no one else can see. So when someone says, are you ready for Christmas? And they're operating with $100 and you've got like -40, you might start to feel ripped off. And if you start to feel ripped off, I think that's fair because you kind of are ripped off. Now, think back last year to 2024, Christmas and New Year. It's also known as the longest Christmas and New Year holiday of all time. Like it was actually like 7.5 weeks for some states. I remember feeling in myself incredibly guilty because I wanted to put my children into vacation care and they didn't want to go. And they know exactly how to push my buttons. If you haven't been following me before, they are 9, 7, and 6. They know how to push my buttons and I am the soft touch of the family. I'm so worried about upsetting them and hurting their feelings, the people pleaser in me. Sometimes I do things that I shouldn't do when I really need to put myself first, put my foot down, and that's completely why I stay out of the parenting space. So anyway, my children told me that they were bullied there. They didn't want to go, they hated it, they cried. And my daughter had only just gone out of homeschool back into the schooling environment. And I was just touching wood that she would stay there because I wasn't coping with her homeschooling. So what did I do? I caved. I was worried about pushing my daughter too much. I justified it in all kinds of different ways and I caved. I knew heading in that I wouldn't be able to cope. But instead of prioritizing myself, I just went into fix-it mode and I just tried to spread myself as thin as possible to make it work for everyone around me. Could I juggle my work hours? Could I work at night? Maybe my husband and I could tag team. But what happened is that everyone had a good time except for me. I pushed through a few weeks, but then one morning I woke up and I realized there are 42 days left of this thing. And I broke. Like, I actually sat there and thought, how many days left? I need to do a countdown. That only works if you've got a short amount of days left. I had 42 to go and I just broke. I sat in my walk-in robe. I cried. I texted and called a few friends and they replied with what I needed to hear the most, which was, what the fuck are you doing, Jane? Put up some boundaries. And I did. But only because I was desperate and I was broken, right? Not because I was being proactive or practicing what I teach. I actually was completely desperate. So I hired someone to help and I didn't overthink it. And I didn't interview for the first time like I was a policeman in a high-level murder investigation, as if that's the level of intensity I need to come and interviewing for some help. I just took a chance because I had to and I had no options. I left it so close to Christmas that I didn't even have many people to pick from. However, fast forward a year, best decision I've ever made. I have never had so much help than what I've had since January this year. And I look back to what I was doing before and I wonder, one, why did I do it that way? And two, why didn't I ask for help earlier? I used to look at other mums, the ones who seem to like do it all. And they're not even showing off these people. Like, this is just their lives. Fishing trips, beach days, perfect holiday schedules. I used to look at people's children at the beach and my whole life goal was having kids that could just have a towel over their shoulder, some thongs on, and carry like a few things and just walk to the next destination. And I was looking at kids who were like, I don't know, 6, 4, 8, like 3 kids in a row, close in age like mine. And I thought, when I've got kids that age and I don't have a pram, I've made it. It's going to be easy. What I can tell you is my kids now are 9, 7, and 6. We've never once done that. And I thought to myself that I was going to be that mum. I thought to myself I was going to have those children, but I'm not. And I'm not in the mum life that I thought I was going to have. I've got 2 hyperactive kids who never stop moving or talking. Then, on top of that, all 3 of them are delayed in emotional regulation, which means they are very reactive. So I've got 3 that are completely reactive to everything and 2 that like to just stir some shit. So basically, they fight all day. And they don't carry their towels. They actually hate sand and salty water and the beach. So I used to hold myself up to this kind of standard that I thought I was going to have. But I've realized that is never going to be me. Like, I'd have to spend $200 to take my kids to the beach and have that day. I can go there for an hour and a half with a friend or my husband, but I have to come back. I can't spend the whole day there. So each school holiday since then, I've improved. I have learned to get that red pen and to actually start cutting shit out. So it's December now. In September, the school holidays was actually the best holidays I've ever had as a mother. 1, I booked early for vacation care. I told the kids up front, I'm not taking you to Aussie World in the school holidays. You can go with vacation care on the day that they designate, or you cannot go. And then I made the best of it. I told other mums which days my kids were booked in, which hopefully didn't scare anybody off from booking. And I felt sane. I put up a boundary. I am working 2 days this week. I am working 3 days next week. That is my sanity budget. Then I told the kids, I will take you to insert the thing that they like doing. Then I told the kids, I will take you to, holy moly, the bowling alley that they love to go to. But the requirement is that you have to go to vacation care on these days. And I knew that if I did drop off, they would cry and play me. Then I would not drop them. I would never follow through. And so I said to my husband, you're going to have to do drop-offs. I can't do it. I'll do pickups. He said fine, because he didn't want me having them either, because I don't get so stressed out and cry and beg him to help me. And so guess what? The kids survived. They said they hated it, but I don't think they really did. And for the first time, I had half-decent school holidays. That is an example of the red pen boundaries. That's how peace starts. It doesn't start with a plan on the mum that you think you were going to be with the kids that you maybe don't have. It starts with one honest decision about how to stop pretending that you are different to what you are. that you have $200 instead of $40. If you keep spending your money as if you have a larger budget than you have, you are going to burn out. If you are nodding along, please download my energy accounting free resource into the show notes. And that is the heart of the Red Pen Christmas. It's not about color coding your calendar. It's not about trying harder. It's about actually editing the version of Christmas that never actually worked for you. Every time you cross something off the list, you're not quitting. You're actually reclaiming your capacity to have fun, smile, be present in the moment, and actually enjoy it. And if you think your kids don't notice when you smile tightly, when you pretend to be okay, but you're not, they do notice. And the last thing I want to do is lay guilt or shame onto anybody, because I often walk around not very happy as well. I hate to say that, but I do. By being happier and reclaiming your mental health and your capacity is the single-handed number one thing that you can do for your kids. I know that if I put them into vacation care, I will be happier on the other days. I know that they will feel it and they will feel my joy. And so I put myself first. Even though that's hard for me, I reframe it for myself and say it's for my kids. Because if I say I'm doing it for myself and I'm not prioritizing my children, my guilt just switches right on from my upbringing. If you can put yourself first without having to reframe it around your kids, power to you. But if you're struggling to do that, reframe it around, I'm looking after myself for my children. You need to red pen the fantasy version of yourself and motherhood and circle what's real and doable. Because peace and happiness, which is apparently what Christmas is about, doesn't happen when everyone else is happy or calms down or you've regulated everybody or you've spread yourself so thin you don't know who you are anymore. It happens when you actually stop performing at Christmas and you actually start editing Christmas to fit your life and what makes you happy. So if this resonates for you, I highly recommend the Festive Fuck It workbook. It is on my website. It is also in the show notes. It goes over this as a module. It's got a matrix and tells you where to start. If you're not in a position to buy the Festive Fuck It plan, that's completely okay. You can do it in a shortcut version. It's not as detailed. It doesn't kind of go into the same amount of detail and show you where to start and where to push yourself. But you can do it pretty roughly yourself. You can grab a red pen and next to each item on your list, you can put, does it give me energy or drain it? You can download my free resource, which is the energy accounting in the show notes. Figure out your budget for your energy level and start to figure out what doesn't fit. Cross things out. Say out loud, if this costs me my mental health, say, if this costs me calm at Christmas, if this costs me joy at Christmas, I'm not doing it. That physical strike, that breath that you take, you are proving to your nervous system that no is safe. You are actively dismantling that good girl mentality straight up. I love it. Aim to hack out 30% of your task list straight up. So, big question that you might be thinking, oh my God, she's talking about boundaries. I just want to click out. I'm so stressed out. Oh my God. If you start to hear the word boundaries, red pen, crossing things out, putting yourself first, and you think, oh my God, I don't have the friends and family for that. If you're coming from a place of trauma, there's trauma there with family members, you're not in a healthy relationship. If you are co-parenting with quite a toxic ex-partner, those are different issues that you should seek psychological counseling for and get some one-on-one help. So if that applies to you, you can move forward here. Please do not attempt to use this boundary work in a toxic, trauma-based relationship or in a co-parenting relationship with somebody who's a narcissist. None of that. This is for relationships that are fairly healthy, where a healthy boundary crossing and a red pen is really beneficial. When you hold up a boundary, particularly for the first time, the system is going to wobble. Some people are going to get quiet. Some people will push. Some people will test you. And they will be like, but just this once. They'll come back. So you'll set your boundary and then they'll come back and question it and ask you about it. I have also got an episode about boundaries and people pleasing. That episode was released December last year. I'm going to put a link to the show notes in that as well. It is going to step you through how to say no with scripts. If you'd like to check that out, it is going to be in the show notes. If you'd like some quick scripts for now, these are some things you can say. Let's say someone says, can you host Christmas this year? And you're thinking, no, can't, don't want to, not something I want to do. Here's some example scripts on healthy boundaries. If someone says, I really appreciate it if you would host Christmas this year. Let's say it's not your turn, someone else is ducking out, you don't want to, you want to go to the beach, whatever it is your scenario, and you want to say no. Here's an example. You might say something like, love that you asked, thanks heaps. Hosting isn't on my list this year. I'm keeping it pretty simple and I've actually already made plans. Or you could say, I was going to suggest this, I was going to suggest that, whatever it is that you're suggesting. Then stop talking. A lot of us start with a boundary, we keep talking, and then we actually inadvertently talk ourselves back out of the boundary by the time we finish the paragraph. I do this. It's very difficult. I'll say no and then finish with, well, maybe I will. If that's you, go back to the related episodes. I cover all of that. You may find that if you're putting up boundaries for the first time and you do that, someone can come back and say, oh, well, that's pretty disappointing. Or, oh, it's really your turn. I can't do it. My house isn't big enough, whatever it is. They may start to get the guilt trip out on you because if this is a family or a friend that knows you pretty well, they're going to know how to push your buttons, right? You might say back, for example, if they're trying to guilt trip you, I get that's disappointing. I'm sorry, I've made my decision. Or I get that's disappointing, but I'm happy to bring something and go to the beach. I'm happy to do it this way. This is a suggestion that I will make. Feel free to get this stuff scripted in your mind beforehand. Or I convert the person to a text message so then you can reply and think about it rather than getting asked in the moment, impulsively saying yes, and then not knowing how to get out of it. In regards to hosting Christmas, you might say something like, I know I always host, but that's the problem. Like I actually have hosted too many times and I really want to have a break this year. If you are listening to this episode and you've already said yes, and you said yes too fast, or you said yes when you felt like you had energy and someone hit you up when you're in a good mood and now you're like, oh my God, I'm exhausted, I don't want to do it. You can actually just say, hey, I'm sorry, I said yes and I shouldn't have. I didn't really think about it. I'm really going to have to pull back and I'm going to have to say no. Thanks for understanding. If they keep pressing you, just keep holding up the same boundary. No new reasons, just saying the same thing over and over. I'm really sorry, it's just too much. You don't have to justify why it's too much, what you've been doing, because then you might find that person comes back and goes, well, I've done all of that and I've also done this, this and this, and why can't you? Okay, well, everyone has a different energy budget, don't they? And that's my whole point. You're operating on your own energy budget, not someone else's. So if you are thinking about putting up some boundaries and you're starting to feel really awful and stressed out already, that's completely normal. If you feel shaky, you feel guilty, you've got a loud brain, you're thinking, I don't know what this podcast woman's talking about. She doesn't know my family or my friends, whatever it is. It's completely normal to feel really stressed out about putting up a boundary for the first time. However, if you're struggling to do it, just think of your kids. Do you want them to make other people happy and not hold a proper boundary? I started doing this for my children because I wanted my daughter to pick herself. And I realized that me not picking myself meant that she won't pick herself and the cycle will continue. My mum never picked herself, which is why I have trouble picking myself. I think I shouldn't need to because I should be happy because my mum never picked herself and that's what mums do. But that's not the truth. So you might need to say something to yourself like, I'm safe even if someone's disappointing. It's okay if someone's disappointed. Someone being disappointed is normal. When I first started doing this, I made a proof folder in my phone and it was called Boundaries, and I would screenshot things that I had done that I was happy about later that my future self was really pumped about. It meant that I had evidence that boundaries are okay, people get over it, and that later on my future self is so relieved. So to finish up, you are not the Christmas peacekeeper. You are actually the red pen editor of your own energy. If it costs your calm this Christmas or your happiness this Christmas, it's not worth it. So whether your ADHD shows up loud, messy, or quiet and invisible, and no one knows that you're feeling anything at all, but you are feeling internally a huge amount of stress, the red pen applies. Crossing things out, red penning them is not quitting. You're not the Christmas Grinch, but what you're doing is you're prioritizing yourself. Now, for the two mums that wrote in, one, the peacekeeper who keeps everyone happy, and the one who faked a family holiday just to get some breathing space. You are both doing actually the same thing. You're both drawing a line and you are saying, I'm not doing that this Christmas. I want help. I want change. You're editing the version of Christmas that you want. One of you has said yes until you're broken and you're screaming for help. Let this episode be not just for you, but for everyone else who needs to say no this Christmas. Whether you're the mum who's faking being away because you just want to have a Christmas of relaxation, of being home, of prioritizing you and what your family needs, you're also drawing up that red pen. Enjoy it this year, and I think power to you for having boundaries. But next year, I challenge you to come back and reintegrate your version of Christmas that's sustainable for you for next year. You don't have to be either people-pleasing or completely out. There is a way that we can do this halfway. Whether you reclaim Christmas by staying home and by finally saying, I just can't do it all this year, I'm not doing it, you're not letting anyone down, but you may be letting yourself rest. You may be prioritizing your Christmas for the first time, not the to-do list, not the perfect photo, not what anyone else says to do. You don't need permission to make it quiet this year. If you are looking for a permission slip to red pen some boundaries, let me write that for you now. This is your permission slip to get out your red pen, prioritize yourself and your family and what you need, or prioritize your friends, whoever it is that you love in your life that you're closest to. So at some point in the next couple of days, anywhere will do. You can do it in the car park if you've got 5 minutes. Write down some tasks and just delete them. I'm not going to be doing that. Later on or another time in the next few days, open up your task list and get the red pen out. Or open up your notes in your phone and write down what you're not going to be doing this year. Aim for 30%. If you can get to 50, power to you. You may notice that the world didn't collapse and that your boundaries held. Maybe you feel relief. Maybe that's actually peace over performance, which is what we're looking for. The final step would be to share this. What I'd love you to do is to go into the Facebook group and share what you are not going to do this Christmas. If you're struggling with this, then please go into the Facebook group and post, I'm struggling to draw boundaries. I've listened to the Red Pen episode. I don't know where to start. You may find that someone's willing to body double with you, or you should download the festive fuck it list where I step you through that with audio. Or you can go back to the Good Girl episode, the People Pleasing episode, which is in the show notes. And if you're killing it and you have red penned, share into the Facebook group, because this is the way that we reclaim our Christmas back. Thank you so much for listening. Until next week, I'm very excited about this Christmas series and I hope that you enjoy it. Quick announcement. Did you know that we have an ADHD Mums shop filled with resources designed just for you? These resources are packed with answers to the most frequently asked questions I get sent in via email. Everything from understanding ADHD and autism to practical tips for daily life. There's also a free assessment tool. If you're wondering about ADHD or autism for yourself or your little one, don't forget to check out the free assessment tool under free resources section on my website, adhdmums.com.au.